Okay, members, welcome back. Members, we're going to move on now to the agenda 16 notice of motions. First motion tonight is Councillor Doyle and Ferguson to move.
Mayor, am I okay to go ahead?
Yeah, have you got a seconder?
Councillor Ferguson's the seconder, Mayor.
Yeah, Mayor, I'll second it.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Ferguson. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks to Rachel for seconding this motion as well. Pardon me. I first thought about this motion a number of months ago, Mayor, and I thought to myself, there's no way that this hasn't already been done. Surely Mr. Falcoulter is on the list of free men somewhere. And I remember emailing Ellen about it and asking for the role of free men. I was surprised to see that that Phil wasn't on it, because I think one of the things that people automatically assume, know about Phil is that he is a very proud dairyman. We obviously all know the many accolades that Phil has been awarded over many years, not just for his songwriting, but also for his singing as well. Much loved right throughout Ireland, and indeed further afield. And I just thought to myself, whenever I looked at the great names of recent times on the role of Freeman, that on his 80th birthday, it would be remiss of us as a city not to point to Phil and express our pride in him, pride in his work, pride that he is from this city, and that he is a major ambassador for music, for talent, and for entertainment right across the music and entertainment scene. I also think that he's someone who has never forgot where he has come from. I know recently he's been playing some gigs here in the city. Whenever I spoke to Phil, I don't think he would mind me telling you this. Whenever I spoke to him about 5 or 6 weeks ago to tell him that I had planned to do this and to seek his permission, he was blown away. And I think that's a measure of the man. Someone who didn't expect and didn't feel hard done by that this hadn't been done, but was just shocked and moved that the city that he obviously loves so well wanted to recognize him. And I spoke to him again recently to let him know that this was coming forward today, and I do believe that he may be watching this. So I want to say to Phil, thank you. I want to say to his team, thank you. And in recognition of all of those things, on behalf of the town he loves so well, I would like us to move forward and award him the freedom of the city. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for that, Councillor Doyle. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Doyle for bringing this forward. When he discussed it with me, I too was surprised that it had never been considered before. Phil Coulter is a son of the city. You know, he was born here, he attended St. Colum's College. He's always been a strong voice and highlighting the good that comes from the city. I was reading up and I seen he started his music career in a band in Queens after nearly giving up the piano, but he found the love back when he was in St. Colum's College and studied music and French at Queens. This is just, this is coming forward after his 80th birthday, and I think it is timely. It is a great way that we as a city show our appreciation for all that he has done for our city and district. He's always been a shining light on our city and highlighting the many talents and the culture that we have, and he's been a huge ambassador for the Northwest. I want to thank Phil Coulter, if he is listening tonight, for all the great work that he's done for our city and district, and I hope that the other members will support this because I think it's a small token of appreciation for a great man. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for that, Councillor Ferguson. Councillor Turney.
Mayor, thank you for allowing me in, and thanks to Councillors Doyle and Ferguson for bringing forward this motion. I suppose, like everyone else, I was also shocked to find out that Phil Coulter and his achievements in the musical world had not been recognised as Freeman of the city and district before. And on behalf of the SDLP, we are delighted to support it. As others have said, Phil Coulter is a very, very proud dairyman, and obviously the words of the town I love so well speak about Phil's experiences from growing up in the city. But also when you hear Phil talking, he often recollects his time growing up in Derry and mentioning old names that I have heard from older family members and old characters about the city. And I think, someone has already said it, Phil Coulter is someone who has never forgotten his roots, but also not only in his own achievements. I spent some time with Phil Coulter last year in the Guildhall when he was recording The Town I Love So Well for the St. Patrick's Day event for the Hume Foundation. And we spent some time in the Mayor's Parlour. And a lot of that time, Phil was telling me how at the stage in his life is where he's at. He's also now helping and encouraging and supporting younger musicians coming up from Derry and from across Ireland. And I think that's the mark of the man who has done all and has achieved all that he has in his own career. And he's now passing on that wisdom to younger people from this city and district to try and encourage them as well and show them that great things can be achieved if you put your mind to it. I had the great privilege last year of being in the Guildhall with my two sons when Phil Coulter recorded The Town I Love So Well for his good friend John Hume, which was aired on St. Patrick's Day. And it was a really, really moving and a real privilege for me to spend that time and that special moment with my two sons. Phil is watching this evening, as far as I understand. And on behalf of the SDLP and indeed on behalf of the people across this city that we represent, Phil, thank you very much for everything that you have done in music to try and make sure that people who are looking in over a very, very difficult time to this city are looking in and seeing the right Derry and the Derry that we are all proud to call the town that we all love so well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Attorney. Councillor McGinley.
Mayor, for allowing me in, and also to both Councillors Doyle and Ferguson for bringing forward this motion today. I don't really intend to repeat everything that's already been said by the other speakers. However, I would like to concur and be associated with those remarks. On behalf of Sinn Féin, we will fully be supporting this motion. Nobody can doubt or take away from the contribution that Phil Coulter has made to the music and cultural scene across the city district and much further afield. And with that in mind, I hope that this motion passes today and that we're able to honour a proud son of Derry. And what better way to do that than to confer the freedom of the city on them?
Thank you, Councillor McGinley. Alderman Devaney.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me in. And on behalf of the DUP, we have no problem in supporting this proposal coming forward here by Councillor Doyle and Ferguson. I think everyone knows that Phil Coulter is synonymous with his musical achievement over the years. And look, I'm aware that Phil is encouraging young artists and giving them guidance on the way forward to reach the maturity that he did. I'm very, very happy, Chair, to support the proposal. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Devaney. Councillor O'Neill.
Thanks, Mayor. And People Before Profit are in full support of this motion also. I think, again, I'm not going to repeat everything that's been said, but, Phil Coulter has contributed so much to the arts and culture and the music of Derry. And I think it's really important that someone who has done so much for music and culture and arts is recognised in this way, because it is very much part of who we are, in Derry. Music is in the blood of people here, and Phil Coulter is very much like epitomizes that. And I think it's just right and fitting that we recognize him in this way. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Neil and Alderman Guy.
Thank you, Mayor, for that, man. And thanks to Councillor Doyle and Ferguson for bringing forward this motion. Definitely a great man, Phil Coulter, fully deserved of this accolade. It's people like this that have a lifetime achievement, really, who deserve these awards. Not saying not everybody deserves them, but these are the people that should be getting them. But I'd just like to say on behalf of the Ulster Unionist Party that great achievement. Welcome that is basically is one of the favourite sons of our city. He's never forgot his roots, and he also wrote so many hits that probably people don't even realise that he wrote. And I think still the classic Town I Love So Well, which has stood the test of time and means so much to so many people in this town. It's a great tune, and he's an absolute gentleman. I met him on many occasions, and I know he was, my father always spoke highly of him. And I'd just like to congratulate him on this award and fully back the motion. Thanks for bringing it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Fred. Alderman Guy. Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Mayor. And can I thank Councillors Doyle and Ferguson for bringing the motion. I note within the motion references made to Phil Coulter's songwriting and performing prowess, but I think also others have referred to Phil Coulter's mentoring of young musicians, whether that's in singing or playing throughout our district. And I'm aware of some of those. And I'm not going to say much more on that, but I do look forward to the occasion when Phil Coulter is brought in and the freedom of the city is conferred upon him. And I can then refer to some that I know myself who have really appreciated the support and mentoring that Phil Coulter has provided. And that to me is an extremely important part of Phil Coulter's contribution, not alone to the city, but to the entire district of Derry and Strabane. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Alderman Hussey. Councillor Doyle, Councillor Ferguson, to be honest, absolutely brilliant motion, bring it forward and truly well deserved. And I'm not hearing any dissenting voices on my journey as mayor. I had the honour of meeting Phil Coulter on that, and the courage and words he gave to me really meant a lot. And this Guildhall, which means so much to the city and district here, when you hear his music getting played upstairs, we have tourists from throughout the world, and the music getting played from Phil Coulter up there is absolutely amazing. So, Councillor Doyle and Ferguson, well done, and I think we all look forward to having Phil Coulter brought on for this award. So, I'd like you to sum up now, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks to again to Rachel in particular for bringing the second motion some weeks ago. Have to say that I'm delighted to hear that we're all on the one page. Particular reference, I think, has to be made to the comments of Councillor Tierney. I thought they were very heartfelt, and I know that if Phil watching, I'm sure he'd be he would feel that as well. Look, one of the things that I would like to say on I suppose a business perspective, Mayor, is that with any hope, we'll be able to pull out all the stops when it comes to the awarding of this accolade to Phil. Obviously, we're constrained in many ways, having so many people in rooms and all the rest, but I think that this is actually something that many people in the city would like to attend as well. And if we could do that, I think that would be fantastic. Yeah, just thanks to everyone for their comments and support. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Doyle. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, thanks to Councillor Doyle for bringing this to me and including me on this. I think it's something we've rectified today, and hopefully we will go forward and we will have an event to celebrate. And I hope that Phil Coulter appreciates that, we do appreciate everything he has done for the city and district and how much of an ambassador and a mentor he has been. So thanks to the members for supporting the motion and look forward to the next part, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Doyle. Councillor Ferguson, members, I'm not hearing any dissenting voices on this. Anybody wishing to go against the motion or abstain, could you let me know now? The motion of Councillor Doyle, Councillor Ferguson passes unanimous. Well done. Okay, members, moving on to Councillor Sina Bard. They move.
Thank you, Mayor. I will take the motion as it is on screen.
Yeah, have we got a seconder?
So,
Happy to second, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson.
thank you, Mayor. And may I start by declaring an interest as the Director of Programs at the Northwest Migrants Forum. Now, this motion follows on from Council recent endorsements of the No Racist Borders protest on the bridge between Strabane and Clifford on Saturday, 19th March. I'm delighted this event attracted such widespread support from organizations within this council area and beyond, including cross-party support, other campaigners and voluntary organizations, both sides of the border, as well as others such as the Center for Cross-Border Studies and Deportation Belfast, who I know are watching right now, the Joseph Rowntree Trust and St. Stephen Green Trust. It was a great way to draw attention to an issue of which many Irish and British citizens are often unaware. The crucial ask is in this motion is for Council to endorse the broader objectives of the campaign. A lot of the recent discourse around the common travel area has tended to focus on the outworkings of Brexit. And those are clearly important, as we have seen lately in the British government's plans to introduce an electrical travel authorization visa waiver scheme, and especially their refusal to accept the recent House of Lords amendment that would have exempted local journeys within the island of Ireland from this scheme. I have to say it was very disappointing, to say the least, to see DUP members of parliament lining up with the Tories at Westminster to overturn this amendment, as it could have provided a sensible and pragmatic way of balancing the British government's evident desire to pander to the uglier elements of English exceptionalism with the need to protect tourism and avoid creating additional bureaucratic headaches for travel within the island. Very disappointing, as the ETA scheme signals an intent by the British government, with the DUP nodding along towards regression and hardening the border on this island. It's really hard to believe that the DUP slogan for the upcoming election is moving forward together. Nevertheless, it's vital that we don't lose sight of the fact that there is already a hard border between this council area and the neighboring country to the west. Now, in calling for the council to back this campaign, it's important that I provide some context for the asks listed in this motion. The initial focus has quite deliberately been on measures the Irish government could introduce unilaterally without potentially getting bogged down in prolonged bilateral discussion with the counterparts in London. Mayor, to put this into perspective, you may have seen that around 100 people seeking refuge from Ukrainian war have recently been accommodated in Letterkenny. Earlier today, we discussed about Ukrainian coming to our city and district, and I do know many who have arrived, who have families already settled in Dublin. The fact is, those 100 and more Ukrainian in Letterkenny aren't allowed to visit Derry, can't come to Strabane unless they break the immigration rule. And if they want to travel to Dublin, they have to go a long way around via Sligo. The key actions proposed have been drafted quite carefully, and I must record my sincere thanks to the Committee for the Administration of Justice, the Northwest Migrants Forum Common Travel Area Steering Committee, in particular for this assistance. The key actions are practical measures that are quite easily achievable and hopefully uncontroversial. They have already been discussed informally with the Shared Island Unit within the T-shirt department and with a number of sympathetic elected representatives in the Republic of Ireland. So our ask is very simple. If you believe in a fair, just, and inclusive society, if your word truly means moving forward together, then you will have no difficulties in supporting this motion fully today. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for that. Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks to Councillor Shinoy Barr for bringing the motion. On behalf of Sinn Féin, we support the motion in its entirety. It's disgraceful that in this day and age, measures such as this, which is blatant discrimination, are being implemented on our island. This will impact tourism, which Councillor Shinoy Barr has outlined, and it will impact families living here in the Northwest. This is yet another example of Ireland being collateral damage of a Tory government supported by DUP MPs, who don't give a damn about Ireland or those who have come to call it home. Councillor McGowan alluded to earlier on in the meeting that as a party we met with the Polish Abroad group, and they highlighted some of the challenges that's faced by those that have come to this part of Ireland. They set up home, and what was described to us as Brexit mania has left many people cut off from their families and their friends right across the island. In some instances, school children can't go on school trips. School children from Derry can't go to a school trip to Redcastle without a passport. It's absolutely disgraceful. There's been a long, hard campaign to remove a hard border on this island, and that campaign will continue. And it's not to remove a hard
Councillor
border.
Jackson, could you bring your remarks to a close, please?
It's not to remove a hard border for some, it's to remove a hard border for all. So on that vein, we entirely support the motion that's been put forward to us today. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Shinoy Barr for raising this motion. Mayor, this motion doesn't highlight the impact it has on citizens who are excluded. This is even before Brexit. Councillor Shinoy Barr and I both attended a meeting with the three commissions around the impact of Brexit and the border, but this has been going on for a long time. I commend Councillor Shinoy Barr for her speech that day, highlighting these issues and coming with practical solutions from the Northwest Migrants Forum. The stories highlighted that day would shock. Someone in our city and district may need access to cardiac paediatric care, which is currently only accessible in Dublin. That person needs to apply for a visa for their child, which can take months and cost thousands. Could you imagine that impact on your life? One gentleman spoke about how his pure want to just be able to see Buncrana. We don't think about that, something that we don't have to think about that, but it's something that he is longing for. I'll reiterate a story Councillor Shinoy Barr said about her own friend who lives in the other side, the Donegal side of the border, whose children attend school here in Culmore. That mother isn't allowed to take her children to school, to attend any school events, or even allowed go to school plays or speak to the teachers. This is a hard border that's been there before Brexit, a hard border that no one has been raising. And I have to say, the Northwest Migrant Forums and others have been doing an amazing job, and I commend them on it. So we, Alliance, fully support this motion and hope that we will see this be rectified so everybody can have that simple access. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for that, Councillor Ferguson. Councillor Hargan.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, Lillian. Councillor Sino Boyer for bringing this motion forward, and People Before Profit, they'll be giving it our full support. I was delighted to be asked to come to the rally at the Strabane-Lifford border and to speak, and the speeches there were excellent because with people from either side of the border, people of colour, our brown, our black and minority ethnic communities, talked about their experience and how there's racial discrimination at that border, how people are targeted, how people are discriminated against, and that's their lived experience. And I think maybe some people think that there's an open border there and you can go back and forward, and that's true for the vast majority of people. It's not true if you're a person of colour. It's not true if you're an asylum seeker. It's not true if you're a migrant worker. It's not true if you're a refugee. And so this has to be changed. We can't have people in the Dáil and people in Stormont talking about welcoming refugees here and having a humanitarian response, and on our own island have racism that cuts right across the middle of the island. So I think I want to commend the Northwest Migrants Forum. I want to commend the work that Councillor Sino Barr has done this, and all the organisations that are backing this from either side of the border. I think we have to challenge the kind of hypocrisy that allows this to exist. And I think we should support this and encourage councils right across the island to back it. Look, this might be complicated for some people to understand. I think when you hear real stories from people who are experiencing this, it becomes very concrete. I think where there's a will, there's a way, and there has to be a will to change this, and we have to do this as soon as we can. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hargan. Alderman McClung.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me in. I think I want to make it very clear the DUP have no time for racial discrimination of any sort. This is, however, I think a matter for the Home Office and for Westminster to be ruling on. I can say that we, particularly in Gary Middleton's office, have helped numerous people from different nationalities with different issues, some of them very detailed and difficult issues, and we've managed to get successful results for many of them. However, unfortunately, Councillor Sino Barr made this into a DUP bashing session at the beginning of her comments, which unfortunately means that we will be abstaining on this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman McClung. Okay, members, I see no further speakers, so I'm going to get Councillor Sino Barr to sum up.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me. Let me thank everyone in this chamber who has supported this motion. I will repeat it again. Supporting people individually to change their immigration status, but voting against policies that will allow them to freely live and belong in this city isn't really isn't really a way of showing that you're moving together. So I'm sorry, Councillor Hillary, that is not how you show that you are an inclusive party that supports diversity and inclusion in this community. But as I indicated a moment ago, London doesn't really seem to be in listening mode at the moment. And while we must, of course, continue to engage with the Tories, it makes sense in the current context to prioritize improvements that don't rely on their consent, because this is not about the Home Office. Of course, there are broader aspects of this campaign objectives that would require action by the British government or joint action by both governments, and this will of course need to be tackled in due course. But in the meantime, we are keen to focus on these particular measures that would assist people living in this city and district to enjoy rights that most of us are able to take for granted. Just as I indicated on the motion, this is not just theoretical issues. It has real consequences, and Councillor Rachel Ferguson has outlined them very clearly. Recently, you may have seen BBC highlighting a great story of a 13-year-old boy, Mohammed, originally from Syria, but now a full member of the GAA Tyrone group. Little Mohammed just wants to play football. He just wants to be part of the Gaelic team. But the sad reality is, with the current CTA rules, Mohammed and his family will need to go through a strenuous visa process just to play a sport that he loves. So changing this rule will enable Mohammed and many other young people to enjoy their quality of life here. So thank you very much, members, for supporting, and hopefully we will influence, you have influenced positive change.
Okay, members, I'm going to take it to John here to take us through a vote. John?
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Alderman Breslin.
Abstain.
Alderman Devaney.
Abstain.
Alderman Guy. Alderman Hussey.
For.
Alderman Carrigan.
Abstain.
Alderman McClintock.
Abstain.
Alderman McCready. Alderman Ramsey.
Abstain.
Alderman Wark.
For.
Councillor Jason Barr. Councillor Raymond Barr.
For.
Councillor John Boyle.
For.
Councillor Michaela Boyle.
For John.
Councillor Carr.
For John.
Councillor Cusick.
For.
Councillor Dobbins.
For John.
Councillor Donnelly. Councillor Doyle.
For John.
Councillor Duffy.
For.
Councillor Edwards.
For John.
Councillor Farrell.
For.
Councillor Ferguson.
For John.
Councillor Fleming. Councillor Gallagher.
For.
For John.
Councillor Hart. Sorry, thank you. Councillor Fleming, was that? Councillor Harkin.
For.
Councillor Jackson.
For John.
Councillor Logue.
For.
Councillor McGinley.
For John.
Councillor McGowan.
For John.
Councillor McHugh. Councillor Mooney. Councillor O'Neill.
For.
Councillor Riley.
For.
Councillor Sinai Barr.
For John.
John. All right, John, I'm here for. I just couldn't get the button.
Thank you, Councillor Mooney. Councillor Sinai Barr.
For John.
Councillor Tierney.
For John.
Thank you, members. Mayor, I've recorded 25 for, no one against, and 5 abstentions.
Thank you, John. Okay, members, that motion passes. Moving on now to the next motion, then Councillor McGowan.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I'll take the motion as read.
Yeah, have you got a seconder?
I'm happy to second, Councillor McGinley.
Councillor McGinley, second, go ahead.
I mean, I'll just take the motion as read. I think everyone in this council is aware of the iconic building that is Austin's first department store in Ireland in 1830. It ran for 186 years and was in the Hassan family for a great part of that. And I know that one of them sadly passed away, and I believe this council passed on their commiserations. Anyway, closed in 2016, the loss of 53 jobs. And I don't think anybody, when it closed, thought that it would still be sitting today in the state that it's in. I don't think it's lost on anybody when you pass it, that it's painted beige. and is a complete eyesore in what used to be the heart of the city. You can see there from the motion that I'm looking to initiate, or council to initiate, a task force to look at the plight of Austins. Like many, I'm worried that it's going to fall down. And I think you'll also see in the motion that I would like us to investigate our enforcement powers. Mayor, I had a wee deep dig at the rates that that building used to generate, and the city has lost around £470,000 of rates since it's lay empty. As a listed building, it doesn't generate rates, and this city has lost about £250,000 of money which could have been used in the city for many of the things that we all know that we need to do. You can see recently the city has got a plan. There's some new shops, etc., opening up, but it's very difficult, Mayor, when you drive around the city, your eye not to be attached to that building and the state of it. So really, without labouring the point, I would call on the council to initiate a meeting with the current owners and investigate their plans. Buying buildings in the city centre, and there are a number of them throughout the city centre. We all know the number of listed buildings lying empty. It reduces the rates in the city, and it doesn't give us the resources to do the things that we need to do. I would also look within that task force, or the ask council, is there enforcement powers that we're not using at the moment? Have we visited the building? Have we checked that it's not going to fall down any day soon? And I think it's an eyesore. So that's all I would like to say. I believe it's an iconic building. It's in a central spot. There is other ones as well. And I think as a city, we need to get those buildings back into play and back into public use and generating rates for the city, but also creating jobs. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Fred. Councillor Gallagher.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting us in this, and thank you for Councillor McGowan to bringing this forward. However, I would say that looking at your motion, it's very city centre based, and I would like to bring an amendment to it. And I'll tell you why I'd like to bring an amendment to it, because, Mayor, over recent years, I went around Strabane town, and within the boundaries of Strabane town, when we look at the town centre, Castle Street, Castle Place, Main Street, Day Road, Upper Main Street, Lower Main Street, Butcher Street, Railway Street, Church Street, Bowling Green, all within the town centre. Every one of those streets has got empty buildings that decrease the use of a town centre because they're lying empty. Because a lot of those people who run those buildings were saying the high cost of rates forced them to close the door. And when I look at this motion and I see this being very city centre based, I say, as a council, if we're setting up a task force, that task force has to look across the district and look at Derry, and in particular look at Strabane town. There's businesses in Strabane town that are struggling, that are paying rates, but if we got more buildings into use, then it was, as the previous speaker says, it would increase our rate space. So therefore, Mayor, just at the end of the first paragraph, I would like to include, I'll stick it in the chat box, as well as the many empty buildings within Strabane town.
Mayor, obviously, This in no way is any comment on the merits whatsoever of the proposal, but the standing order in relation to amendments does say that it shouldn't put a greater burden on the meeting than the original motion, and this motion is specific to one property and one property only, and consequently I'm afraid that this particular amendment couldn't be accepted on this occasion.
Thank you for that amendment to carry us back to the original motion.
Mayor,
No.
Mayor, just see within the motion, is important that council within other cities, within all our city and town centres, they're left vacant. The motion includes town centres. Mine has just been specifically to name Strabane. So I'm just being specific within the motion that says town centres. So what I'm asking for in the task force is to review the town centre of Strabane, which is
Sorry, I really don't want to appear difficult in relation to this, but I think that there are two specific aspects of this. The review, the task force which is the proposal from Councillor McGowan, is to review one single building, and that's the building at the Austin site in the Diamond. It isn't referencing multiple buildings within Derry City, for example. It's one specific building within the city. The commentary in relation to the final paragraph is simply broader than that, which deals with the importance of the council not allowing sites within the cities or town centres, which obviously includes both Derry and Strabane, to be left vacant. So whilst I hear what Councillor Gallagher is saying, and say it's in no way a comment on the merits of the proposal, it's simply that this amendment couldn't be applied to this particular notice of motion. It could, of course, come forward separately at another time.
Thank you, Phil, for that there. Councillor Hargan.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, first of all, I mean, look, it's disappointing that Councillor Gallagher's amendment couldn't be accepted, because I agree with the thrust of what he's saying. Austin's building is an iconic building here in the city, and it's a huge disappointment that it's been allowed to fall into what sounds like a state of decay. But there are many other buildings right across the city and the district, and clearly in Strabane, that need attention, and that can, if they were developed and used, it would transform the aesthetic of the city, but it also would transform rates, and also have a huge impact on what the city looks like in terms of the transformation that we want to see. So I think that this has to go beyond just Austin's. So we support the thrust of the motion, which is to try and figure out how to bring this building back to life, and make sure it doesn't collapse on us if that's the case, and to do everything we can as a council. I suppose I wouldn't be the only one saying we can't have a situation where there's private owners of a building, the building falls into a state of disrepair, council and others step in, fix it up, spend a lot of money, and then hand it back. That can't go. If the council and other bodies end up taking responsibility for this, it needs to be then utilised for the public good. So that will be the job of the task force to figure that out. I think everybody will want to see this building and many other buildings brought back to life and brought back into use here in Derry, Strabane, and elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hargan. Alderman Devaney.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me in. And I have to say we have no problem in supporting the notice of motion here. We all know that Austin's is an iconic building within the city here in Londonderry. And look, I do believe that we should be doing all we can to find out what is the proposed future for that iconic building. But in saying that, Mayor, I do believe in the thrust of Councillor Gallagher's issue around Strabane and other buildings within the city of Londonderry that are lying derelict at the moment. And I do believe that look, we should be maybe encouraging those owners or even having ongoing conversations with them, but in around what's happening to those buildings, because some of them are very much eyesores. But I do take on board the legal advice by our city solicitor, and I take that very much on board. But Chair, we have no problem in supporting the notice of motion as it stands here now at the moment, but also taking on board the thrust of the issue that Councillor Gallagher has raised. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Boyle.
Thank you, Mayor. I won't go over what mostly has already been said. Just to say, in the first instance, Mayor, similar to Alderman Devaney, we certainly would have supported the general thrust and principle of what Councillor Gallagher was proposing, and indeed had considered a similar amendment myself, but I did consider that probably it would fall foul of the standing orders, and so it has been. So perhaps we might look, or some of us might look at bringing a further motion forward in relation to the other sites that might concern us. But clearly, Austin's of the Diamond is an iconic site in the city centre. It's a very prominent site, as anybody can attest to. Something actually, it's one of the first things that visitors under the city centre will clearly see as well, not only just people who live here, but people who come here and visit here. And they do ask questions, why is such a beautiful building in the condition that it's in? I don't know the answers to that, and I suppose that is the thrust of Councillor McGowan's motion in front of us. It is to explore the opportunity of it, to examine where the issues lie and find a way forward in relation to the building, and of course to do that in consultation with the owners. So we welcome the opportunity to do that. It has to be remembered, Austin's actually was the oldest independent department store in the world at one time, until it sadly closed its doors in 2016. It was founded in 1830, a very, very long time ago, and it's a terrible shame that we've seen it go the way it has gone. But of course, the business models for department stores, as we know all too well, with the light of Debenhams, etc., face challenges that they could not surmount. But of course, just to conclude, Mayor, fully supportive of the motion in front of us here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boyle. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to Councillor McGowan for bringing the motion forward. I have no issues at all with the motion. I would have liked to have seen Councillor Gallagher's amendment go forward too, because I do agree. I think there are many buildings in our city and district that could do with support from council to find a way forward. Austin's is an iconic building. It is, as others have said, the oldest independent store. It's something I have fond memories growing up in the city and the district of going to visit and talking to my parents and grandparents. They all have the fond memories of the wonky stairs, and I think it's something that it is so sad to think now it is fallen into disrepair, and unfortunately we don't know what the future lies for Austin's. Mayor, we have no problem supporting the motion, and I'm hoping, because the amendment hasn't been able to go forward, maybe as members of the task force that we may be able to do within the terms of reference, that once we have explored the options with Austin's, that we could possibly explore options of others, because it is an absolute shame to see any building derelict within our city and district, and I would like to include Strabane in this. So, Mayor, we're happy to support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Mayor, and I take totally on board the intention of the motion, but like others, I have to agree with Councillor Gallagher. We all can recognise the importance of the iconic building that is Austin's within the Diamond and the city centre in general. But as Councillor Gallagher does say, there are other buildings, not alone in the city centre, but throughout the council area. With that in mind, I am proposing an amendment, which I trust the city solicitor might be able to allow to be taken, because I believe it takes on board the desire of members and indeed incorporates the intention of the original motion. And I am putting that amendment into the chat box now for the city solicitor's consideration.
Yeah. Yeah, happy enough with that. Alderman Hussey, and it's seconded by Councillor or Alderman Curry.
With that, Mayor, I propose the amendment. Nothing further to add to.
Thank you. Okay, it's been seconded. Okay, members, we have amendment. Does anybody want to speak on the amendment?
Could I speak?
Mayor,
Sorry, Mayor, could I speak on the motion and the amendment?
Go ahead.
I would like to begin with saying that I concur with everything that Councillor Gallagher has said. Strabane has a lot of derelicts, especially in the main street area, which are an eyesore and possibly a danger. But I would like to draw a comparison with the past home of the claimed hymn writer, Cecil Francis Alexander, which is now being used as a drinking den by young people, despite the owners, the Education Authority, being notified of the fact the door had been forced and entry again, and smoke was actually seen coming from the building. You know, and despite the fact there's a strong demand for the site to be protected, this is a building with rich historical value and the potential for development, and it's something where I would like to see intervention from the council to make sure that this building is protected. But I'll be supporting the motion and the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McGowan on the amendment.
Happy with amendment, no issues. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Boyd.
Yeah, again, Mayor, just to direct yourself, we are content with the amendment in the SDLP as well. Thank you.
Okay, members, I see no further speakers. And note the sound of the voices. Okay, members, I'm seeing no dissent of voice in this. Anybody wishing to go against the amendment, could you let me know now in the chat box or look at the abstain? Could you highlight now? I'm going to. Okay, members, I'm going to take that amendment as passed. Now going back to the substantial motion. Councillor McGowan, would you like to sum up?
Thank you, Mayor. Listen, we really can't let buildings be land banked across the city, particularly listed buildings. Agreeing with Councillor Harkin, we can't let these fall down because you lose that building. There's 3 or 4 other buildings, Mayor, that I wanted to bring under this amendment, but it's great that we could do it in the task force. There's St. Colm's Hall and many others around the city that are lying vacant, and they could be back into public use. When we're all trying to improve and sell the city, we're often blunted when people see iconic buildings like this lying empty. It shows our lack of ambition as a city. Referring to Councillor Gallagher, I will support any motion that's put forward that brings any buildings in this district back into public use or private use or whatever use that creates jobs, generates rates, and helps make us a better region. So perhaps one of the first items on the task force can be to do exactly what the amendment on this motion has said. And thanks everybody for supporting it.
Thank you for that, Councillor McGowan. I actually remember the building in the Fountain Estate in Kenny Place falling down on a Friday afternoon, just prior to the schools getting out, and it was a very scary experience and such a beautiful building lost too. But I fully agree with Councillor Gallagher, and obviously this is something we could take on. So members, moving on, I'm not hearing any conservative voices on this. Is anybody against the substantial motion? Let me know now. Or is there anybody looking to abstain? Seen it too, Joel. Okay, members, I'll take that as a pass. Well done, Councillor McGuigan. Okay, members, moving on to Councillor Luke.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I'll just take the notice of motion as read there on the screen.
Yep. Have you a second
Um,
there?
I'm happy to second that as well, Mayor. Councillor Manley.
Thank you, Councillor McGillen.
Thank you, Emma. Members, two motions have already been brought to Council regarding giant hardweed and Japanese knotweed. Both highlighted the need for a multi-agency approach. The ownership of the land behind Alexander Place cannot be established. When the bulk of the land was acquired by the housing executive in the 70s, this strip of land was unfortunately not registered, even though land adjoining it at Alma Place was. Japanese knotweed is a highly invasive, fast-growing plant and can cause significant damage, which is why it is so important to get rid of quickly. The damage will range from cosmetic to minor, and if left unchecked, to significant damage, which could prove very costly to repair. Examples of damage include complete blockages of drains and downpipes, destruction of asphalt and resin surfaces, collapse of stone and brick walls, damage to cavity walls, and so on and so forth. Japanese knotweed can devalue a property between 5 and 15%. The extent to which the property is devalued would also depend on the severity of the infestation and the proximity of the knotweed to the home. In the past, Council, along with the Housing Executive, treated the Japanese knotweed in this area. Unfortunately, this arrangement didn't address the matter fully. Given the detrimental impact this is having both on residents, quality of life and damage to homes, I am hoping that if Council take the lead and work with all the agencies mentioned in the motion in the first instance, a solution could be found to bring this land into usable and well-kept space for the enjoyment of all those who live there. I hope I can rely on all your support in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Councillor Luke. Alderman McClintock.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me in. And I suppose, first of all, I should say I have fond memories of living in Alexandra Place, the street that I was brought up in, and sort of looking on to Alma Place as well. So although I haven't been, I've driven past the area many occasions recently, but I haven't actually been walking the area. So I thank Councillor Logue for bringing this before us today. I think these areas of wasteland are a blight on our landscape, and especially when there's issues like this with invasive species growing there, and whenever no one can take particular responsibility for it. I suppose it's one of the things that we do have to grapple with as to how we actually deal with these invasive species, but that's a question for for one of the committees, not for today. But the sentiments of the motion, I think it is important that we work with the residents of Alexandra Place and the different agencies to try and find a solution to this problem, because it's something that can cause so much annoyance to the people of the area. So happy to support.
Thank you, Alderman McClintock. Councillor Turney.
Mayor, thank you, and thanks to Councillor Logue for bringing this motion. Over this last number of days, I have spoken to residents in Alexander Place and visited the area and seen the wasteland that Councillor Logue's talking about. And I think the very fact that no one has taken any responsibility or claimed any responsibility for this piece of land is shocking, to say the very least. Build something on that piece of land and they'll be queuing up to take responsibility for it, and they tell residents that they can't and that they couldn't do that. The residents have tried and tried and tried to get to a resolution and to get someone to take responsibility for this problem at the back of their homes, and it has always fallen on deaf ears. So I think with the setting up of this particular group between the Housing Executive, the Council, Urban Villages, Triacs, and most importantly the residents, hopefully we'll be able to come and find a solution to this problem that is blighting residents for a long time. I have a slight amendment to the motion. And it's not that I disagree with the motion or anything like that. I just want to include something. The Bishop Street Community Centre on Bishop Street, there's wasteland there, which I understand belongs to this council, has been overgrown for a number of years. There is a small gravel football pitch that was in use for the young people that use that community centre a number of years ago, but because of the same problem with Japanese knotweed, it has become overgrown and is now out of use. The children that attend that youth club and the numbers that are attending that youth club are on the up year on year, have got no outside facility around that community centre to play or they use activity or they do activities on. So Mayor, the amendment is that council will use key learnings from this to address similar problems at the Bishop Street Community Centre, which is also impacted by Japanese knotweed. I'm conscious that I don't want to place a further burden on the meeting, and in line with our standing orders, I hope the city solicitor allows this amendment to go forward. And I hope Councillor Logue understands the reason for the amendment. It's not to take it away from the issue at Alexander Place, but we're literally talking the distance of a couple of 100 yards. So whilst we have an area in Alexander Place, which I fully support the resolution and hoping to find the solution, I think when you're talking about such a short distance and such an important facility for that community at the Bishop Street Community Centre, which as I understand belongs to this council, I think it's only right that we try and address both issues with the one notice of motion.
All right, Councillor, I think you've got it there. Okay, I'm going to take that amendment.
Thank
okay.
you.
You're welcome.
Happy to second, Mayor. Happy
Thank
birthday
you.
as well.
Thank you. Okay, members, anyone want to speak on the amendment? All happy enough. Okay, members, is there anybody wishing to vote against the amendment or abstain? Okay, I'll take amendment as passed. On the substantial motion, anybody want to speak on it?
Mayor, my name's down there.
Councillor Lee, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Lee.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks. I think this is a really welcome motion. I think whenever there's a problem within a local community and you bring the local community together with lots of different bodies, I think that's the way to find solutions when you have the community at the centre of that decision making process. And I know this has been long and drawn out, and I think the amendment is good because it highlights the invasiveness of Japanese knotweed. If Tierney had says that, it's only 100 meters kind of down the road, and if the Japanese knotweed is in a community, we do need to get it under control so that it doesn't cause more problems to more community spaces within within that area. And I think I think if the result from this task force is that we turn a nuisance area into an area which the community can utilise and can be proud of, or is an asset for the community rather than a nuisance. I think that is the end goal that we want, because these urban spaces are really important and valuable, and at the moment it's not really being used at all to its potential. So we fully support the motion, and I think we hope for good results from it. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Councillor Lee. Councillor Logue, do you want to sum up?
Thank you, Mayor. Very briefly, I have no problem at all with the amendment. Of course, that space needs to be brought under use too for all those who use the community centre. So no problem with that amendment at all. And I just want to thank everybody who spoke in support of this motion, and I look forward to getting the problem sorted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Logue. Okay, members, on the substantial motion, is there anybody wishing to vote against it or abstain? Could you let me know now in the chat box or highlight on the screen? Okay, members, I'll take that motion as passed. Members, moving on to agenda 17, 18, 19 and 20. And we'll take it as read. That's for your information. Any members have any comment on them?
Mayor,
Derek, I'll say.
not be long, Mayor. It's on the resolutions from other councils, open for information 18. I see we have a resolution from OMA, from an OMA, I should say, with regard to the, where is it now? Free school meals for all children. And it's one that I think is worthy of this council supporting. And I would propose, in fact, that we write to Fermanagh and OMA and support their call for all children in Northern Ireland to receive free school meals.
Just 2 seconds to this here, Alderman Hussey.
Chair, Mayor, can I just, we've already passed a motion supporting that.
I'm aware of that, Mayor. It's just that we write and support Fermanagh and OMA's motion as well.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Officers are happy enough to write a letter in support of that there, Alderman Hussey. Yet.
If I need to second it, Mayor,
there's
I
a
would
motion.
second it. Alderman
Yeah,
Kenny.
members, you happy enough proposer and seconder? Alderman Hussey, I will propose, and Alderman Devaney second. Any members wishing to abstain or against that? No. Everybody happy?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members.
Thank you. Okay, members, I'd like to bring this meeting to an end tonight, and I'd like to thank you all and wish you all the best and have a lovely weekend. I'm away to have a even better birthday now if we're finished early, so good luck, members.
Happy birthday, Mayor. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Mayor.
Happy 40th
Birthday, Graham.
Happy 50th, Graham.
Happy 45th.
Birthday, Graham.